Okay, all set. We're live everywhere, and I'm recording.
Frank, you're unmuted.
Did some? Okay, we're going to bring this meeting to order. The first order of business, as is usual, is the approval of the meeting minutes. There are 3 sets of meeting minutes: the regular May 11th meeting and the June 1st and June 4th special meetings. Has everyone, does anybody need time to take a look at these? Steve, you had a chance? Manita?
I move to approve the meeting minutes for the
I seconded.
regular meeting, June 1st and June 4th special meetings.
Is Steve on mute?
Steve is on mute. Yep.
Yeah, sorry. No, I just said that I had seen them and they look right.
Okay. And I believe, Katie, you moved to accept the minutes, all 3 sets?
Yep.
Did I hear a second?
I did. I seconded it.
I'm sorry, this is Don. Can we hold on the vote 1 second? We just dropped our Facebook feed. Should be able to get it up here. Just 1 minute.
Okay, it looks like we're live again. But we'll wait for confirmation.
It might still have the rest of the overflow. Okay, I believe we're ready on Facebook, and Brendan should have the update to the page momentarily. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. You can proceed.
Okay. I believe Katie had made a motion to accept the minutes. Did somebody second that? Is that
I did.
Manita?
Yes.
Manita did.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The minutes are accepted, all 3 sets. Next up is approval of expenditures. The approval of the May prepaid checks. The number is 67901 to 67902 and 67945 to 67946. totaling $1,132.70. Also, approval of the June warrants. Checks 67947 to 67991, totaling $109,670.48. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve these expenditures.
I'll second that.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, the motion passes. Financial reports. The May prepaid checks and warrant summary sheets, Exhibit I. The budget report, Exhibit 2. And the income report, Exhibit 3. Does anybody have any questions about the budget report?
Ike, is that percentage of budget, that bottom line 79, lower than you expected because of the closure?
It is. So, we are in a little bit of a hiring pause. We've had 2 high-profile retirements, and, we're not working on Sundays and paying people
Right.
premium pay, and the building system is set so that the lights go off early, so we're saving pretty substantially on utilities, and so I think we're actually in a pretty good position.
Does that obviate the need to reallocate?
It
money?
does. I'm sorry, except for you'll notice there is one line where we are overspent, and there's going to be an additional expense there next month, and that is in the software and licenses.
Mm-hmm.
So we may want to do a reallocation from
We're close to completion or 100% in conferences and staff training too.
right.
So do we want to look at both of them then?
Potentially, we've been doing. You've seen Tara's report. Just the massive amount of training that's been going on. So I would say we could very likely move.
Do you want to take a second, Ike?
Yeah, let's.
There's a lot in the printing budget.
Right, and we're really not doing much
Not gonna be
printing.
printing, yeah.
And there's a lot in the program budget, because of course we're doing much less of that now that we're
Oh,
closed.
Are we
And this
expecting
is
that?
just to reallocate for the next month, right? Because our
fiscal year is over in
Right,
June, yeah,
right.
in June. So it's so I would say if you would entertain a request to reallocate from the program budget, usually we try to make logic out of these reallocations, but we live in a little bit of an illogical time at the moment. So from there, since there is a surplus from programs to reallocate.
Are you expecting about $2,800 worth of costs for June too?
For 2000 for no. I would think it would probably not be more than $1,500. I would say. So if we could,
1,500 plus the 566,
right,
67.
right.
Okay.
Minita, which one are you looking at?
The budget meeting, you have
Software and licenses.
software and
Software and
licenses.
licenses. Okay,
We have a shortfall right now, right?
right.
$167.
Yep. I see.
And in May, we spent about 2,812. So I was just wondering if we were thinking that we would need a similar amount.
Right, okay.
But I would say if we could reallocate to be on the safe side, $2,500 to that line, I think we should be good.
From program expenses?
From program expenses, yes.
Is there any, what about, so do you want to reallocate to conferences and staff training?
It probably couldn't hurt. And if we could maybe take about $5,000 from the retirement expense, which is a personnel expense, and move it into, I don't think that we'll spend that much money by the end of the year, but the retirement expense has a surplus that bill has been paid for the year. So there's a healthy balance there.
So, curiosity, why don't we just take the 2,500 from the retirement expense too?
We could do that. So shall we do that both? So 2,500 from retirement to software, and 5,000 from retirement to conferences and training.
So a total of 7,500 from retirement expenses surplus, which is about what, $50,000 right now, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion that we take $2,500 from the retirement expense and reallocate that to software and licenses. And a second part of that motion is that we reallocate $5,000 from retirement expenses to conferences and training.
I have a quick question on that.
Yes.
Only $125 on conferences and staff training in May. Are we expecting like a big thing that we're going to in June?
We're not, because we're not going anywhere actually. But what is happening in June is the annual American Library Association conference, which is now totally online, and we normally would have a number of people traveling to that, and some people have already paid, and they'll get a little bit of a reduction, I think. But no, I don't think that we'll spend that much money.
Okay, I was just getting some clarification, that's all.
Right.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question about that proposal? Okay, so I'll restate the motion. It's a motion to reallocate $2,500 from retirement expenses to software and licenses, and to reallocate $5,000 from retirement expenses to conferences and training.
I second that
Second that
motion.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 That motion passes.
So for Carmen, who I know you both kind of did a simultaneous second. Do we want?
Yeah,
Excuse me?
I was unclear about who the second was on that one.
it was sort of simultaneous. Does it matter?
And just say, was it Steve?
Yeah,
Or-
okay, it's me.
Okay, that's fine.
And then Frank, do you want me to move to approve the rest of the financial reports?
If everyone's got nothing, no questions about the income report. Did anyone have a question about that?
So the unusual thing about the income report you might see is the about $10,000 in miscellaneous income. And what that is 2 insurance payments. One for a workers' comp that it will be converted back to time for an employee. And then the other was for damage to HVAC units.
And what happened?
The money damage,
what-
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Frank.
No, go ahead.
What happened with the rental income question with the Friends of whether
So-
we should be suspending their rent these few months?
So I made the offer to them. I don't know that they're going to accept it, but I did reach out to them and say that that with your blessing that we could make that offer to them. They countered a little bit that they've already had it in their budget for this year and they have the cash on hand, so they may continue. I'm not sure 100% where they landed on that.
Okay.
But the offer has been made to them.
Okay. Katie, I would take that motion now.
Okay. I have one more question. How do we have any fines or fees?
That comes from, you had me stumped there for a minute, but what that is those are payments from other libraries when their patrons have borrowed our materials and lost them and pay to replace them.
Okay.
So we are getting a few checks that way.
Right. Okay. Okay. So with all of those questions answered, I move that we approve the May prepaid checks and June warrant summary sheets,
I
the
seconded.
income report. Yes. There.
All in favor?
I
Aye. Those reports are approved. Next thing is the president's report. I have nothing particular to report, although I'm just sad to say that this is Steve's last meeting. That's, you know, I've been on the board, I think 4 years, every year since I think I was the first on after Steve, and it went very quick. And I quickly realized that Steve was just this like really decent guy who had a lot of common sense. And, you know, it was just, you know, and we got to work on a couple of different things together. And, you know, he's just really going to be missed. And I'm just want to say thank you, Steve. You know, I'm mad at you for leaving, but, you know, you've been great to work with.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. I really appreciate that. The sad joke of it is that I was going to miss literally every meeting the rest of this year for travel, which now isn't happening. So to be doubly mad at me now.
You know, we have a spot. We could appoint somebody.
All right, we'll talk about that off the air.
Yeah, and you can always come visit.
Oh, I'll help any way I can.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, really, you give great service to this community, and you're just a great guy. So,
Thank you, Frank.
we will miss you, Steve.
Thank you, Manita.
correspondence and communication. Have we any?
No.
And the director's report.
I don't know if you had any questions about my written report. Some of this will.
I had a question about the damage. Is there insurance covering that, or the contractor's insurance?
We don't know yet. We've had Rick. Do you want to talk about this?
Yes. Initially, we wanted to go after the contractor's insurance. We did illuminate our own insurance company, and they had an independent inspector estimator come in. I provided them all the documentation, and tomorrow morning, the contractor's insurance agent will be here to view all that. one thing that came up during conversation was the contractor's insurance agent said there may be a clause where we may be made whole for any differential because this is prorated with age. But I have yet to verify that with our insurance company. So we're just proceeding through the dominoes as they come. And we may, in fact, go with our insurance company if it provides a bigger benefit to the library. Any questions?
No, thank you, Rick. So, Ike, you feel comfortable with supplies that we have on hand for PPE?
Sorry, I was muted there. So I think we are in a good position for starting to bring people back into the building. Rick has really been on the hunt for a lot of this stuff, as have I. So I do think that we're in a good place, like I say, to get us going.
I appreciated your email update this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess, Ike, if you have nothing particular you want to highlight at this point, I guess we go to the use statistics, which they have a report appended to them for Facebook activity.
Right, which might be more meaningful than anything else right at the moment. And that, it's a pretty lengthy report, and it came from a product called Agora Pulse, which is a really terrible name, I think, but it is a social media management tool that Gina has been taking for a test drive. And it seems to give us a lot more meaningful information than our normal state report stats at the moment. So it's a pretty lengthy report. You've seen it. So,
Can you pull it up on your share screen? Because I'm not finding it in my packet. I mean, I know I had looked at it when you sent it, but I'm not finding it, trying to keep you open and search my computer.
Yeah, no, I think it was appended to the use statistics. So it's,
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this tells you growth. I think it's for the month of May. So growth in fans of 1.3%, but the fans are a lot more engaged than they have. So a 65% increase in brand awareness, a lot of impressions. So an impression is every time a post is seen by somebody, versus an engagement is when somebody takes an action. And it seems like the most, so yeah, a lot of growth over this. So a 61% increase in impressions. Seems like the most, let me see if I can find it. The post that was most engaged with was the update I gave on the 22nd of May about our trying to coordinate our startup plans with Clifton Park and Crandall and Schenectady. I'm almost 100% certain that when this comes out next month, the thing that's going to be the most popular is, for some reason, we're doing a program about backyard edible plants, like dandelions and that sort of thing. And it seems to have gone a little bit viral, like hundreds and hundreds of people are interested in going to that. I'm sorry, I was scrolling through here. I'm trying to find. Right, so these are what they call the top content. So the top two things really are those updates about what we're doing and, and what we're moving towards. And then some programs, therapeutic courses, and then some posts. One about the Obamas doing story time. This one in the middle here is a video that was posted of the fish tank in the children's room. And then a post about job hunting in the time of the pandemic. So.
Okay, anybody have any comments about that? Okay, I guess we'll move on to the department reports, which is kind of a transition to helping job seekers with cover letters. Jen, that sounds like a really good idea.
My first. Hello.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Nobody signed up for that one, but I do have people signed up for upcoming resume help and market research for your small business. So I'm excited about that. The market research program is tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, just a note on the edible plant program, that's mine, and I still have to finish putting it together, but I was kind of astounded to see the wait list. So we offered another session. So we'll see how that goes.
Good.
Yeah. Who knew? But in terms of May, a couple of things I wanted to just note were some of the programs that are happening from staff. Chris did a Birds and Bogs program on climate change, and that was in conjunction with the Southern Adirondack Audubon, and that was really well attended, and that was an online program, obviously. She's also offering an Intro to American Sign Language, and that filled up really quickly, and so she's also offering a second session of that. Kelly offered a program with Coach Pepino from Ben & Jerry's, where he made, I think it was chicken parmesan or something like that, and it really looked tasty, and that was really enjoyed by the viewers watching that. Lori's been doing some amazing work with sales on the Leaving Our Digital Fingerprint, I think it's called, Leaving Our Fingerprints, documenting people's experiences during the time of the pandemic. So there's a lot on the report in that, but I just wanted to give a shout out for the great work she's been doing with that. And I wanted to make a mention too of some of our part-time staff who you'll see more from me later on. I really want to take some time and compile all of the learning activities that they've been doing and additional work, because it's kind of amazing how much our part-time staff, who usually would just be on the desk answering reference questions and such, have really stepped up to not only embrace the learning challenge, but have also been doing some really interesting programming during this time. So a couple I wanted to point out were from Jasmine, who did a cereal box puzzle program at home, and Christy Haber, who did a paper flowers program, which I heard rave reviews about. So wanted to mention that. And then lastly, for myself, I just wanted to mention we had another community conversation with Saratoga Warhorse this month, which was really great. And that, I believe, went live today at 2 o'clock. So if you have a chance to check that out, Danielle is the person I spoke with, and she was a fantastic speaker. And they're actually doing, because they're not able to meet in person, obviously now, but they're still doing a lot of remote work with not only veterans, but I think guardsmen that are involved right now in managing the COVID outbreak. So they're doing some great work. And lastly, I just really wanted to give a big thank you shout out, if I may, to my coworkers, both the staff that I have inherited and only really gotten to see virtually over the last two and a half months, but they've been doing some great work hanging in there with us, and to my fellow management team staff who really have been, working head over heels above and beyond to get everything ready to reopen to staff, in addition to everything else that they've been trying to keep up on with their regular tasks. So again, you saw that in my report, but wanted to give a great big shout out. Thank you and virtual hug to all of them for all the amazing work that they've been doing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And thanks for keeping the programming train chugging along.
We're trying. If you like beer and wine, we have those coming up. And
That's good. Yes. Thanks again. Okay. Jen F. Administrative services.
No, technical, circulation and technical services. Do you want admin first?
Yes.
All right, that would be Ike.
I don't know why I have them together. Whatever you wish.
Well, since I'm talking, I'll go. So mine's after administrative services. We have not circulated anything except for electronic resources. Those numbers continue to increase, and we continue to have a new user base for them as well. It's amazing. Outside of that, my staff and I have been working really hard to try and get ready for our contact list pickup service that will be coming very soon. And we're working on scheduling and logistics, how it's actually going to work to keep everyone safe and happy.
Yeah, I know you've been working very hard on the logistics of all that. And I know you put a lot of work into that plan. I wish you the best of luck when
Thank you. It'll all work out. It'll all work out.
Okay. Is Tara here?
She is.
I saw her earlier.
Let's see her.
No,
Oh, there she is. Tara? She's muted.
And oddly, I don't. Oh, are you the phone? Okay. All right. Okay.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. There we go.
Okay. Okay. My video tends to cut out, so I have my audio on one medium and my video on the other. Sorry about that. So yeah, May was a really productive month, I guess, for a lot of people. The management team were working really hard on getting a reopening plan together, and it was a huge hurdle to be able to present that to you last week. So a lot of effort went into that, and it's going to be a document that we continually update. In rolling it out to the staff informally on Friday, mentioned that already we need to update the document as some of the guidance has already changed since the document was published, for lack of a better word. So it'll be something that we'll continually keep live, and we'll be using it as a guideline for identifying areas to, for instance, start training the staff, which began today. And again, I'm doing the bulk of the training by providing our employees with electronic resources already developed by the CDC for the most part. As far as policies, there are several that I had drafted and the lawyers have approved for your review and approval. These are required related to the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, Emergency Family and Medical Leave Act leave, and emergency paid sick leave, as well as New York State COVID-19 leave. These are leaves that, for the most part, have a finite date. They're set to expire at the end of this calendar year.
Okay, so
I don't know if I need to ask for a motion to approve those. They essentially become, I believe, like appendix items for our employee handbook. I intend to make them available to staff once they're approved. Again, these are retroactive to when the government essentially called for them to be put into place.
The
Mm,
Emergency
and-
Family and Medical Leave Act and the Emergency Paid Sick Leave. Those are the two things we're talking about right now.
Yes, and then there's a third that's pertinent to New York State only.
The COVID-19 benefits.
Yeah, right. And those are the things that are on the agenda there and under new
Okay,
business.
we'll get to those shortly, very shortly.
Okay. All right. So then in the meantime, otherwise, staff development has continued at a brisk pace. Over 400 courses were started or completed by staff. And I gave you a pretty comprehensive listing there of all the different, so you could get a sense of the gambit of skills that staff are working on in a pretty much self-directed way. The number of employees that are now certified by the Johns Hopkins program in contact tracing is more than what's in my report. Since I wrote the report last week, an additional 3 people have told me that they've achieved certification. So we now have 11 employees, which is about 10% of our staff, that have been certified, have gone through this 5-hour course. And some of the comments that I've gotten as feedback from people who've gone through the course is that it's helped them to understand the disease better, the transmission. It's helped to dispel a lot of their concerns, answered a lot of their questions. And a few librarians have said that the last module on active listening and empathy are skills that they can actively use in doing reference interviews. So it served, I think, a lot of different useful and meaningful purposes to the folks who have gone through it. We've just wrapped up on open enrollment, which happens as it does every year online. It went smoothly. For the most part, folks have renewed their coverage as is. There's a brief explanation in there about the benefits that have been offered. And as far as the reopening planning goes, I do want to just also make mention that as of this afternoon, I was able to beta test and use a few of my cohorts here as testers as well for an electronic option for answering the daily screening questions that employees will need to complete in order to start their shift on site when they return to the building. That is going through Paylocity, which is our existing payroll service provider. And I'm working with them to fine tune a few things, a few questions that I have about it. But we are one of their very earliest adopters. It's literally something that they rolled out over the weekend and I jumped on today. So I'm hopeful that we can use this electronic option as a supplement or as an alternative to the paper that was proposed. I think that might be part of the latter part of the agenda as well. So again, access issues are always a concern. Not all of our employees have 100% access to the electronic and to the tech, so we wanted to make paper as the default, but for those that will continue to use their devices to clock in, they now have this electronic option. So we're just trying to make things accessible and give folks the options in order to be compliant. So I'm hopeful that we will get there in short order.
That sounds
Are there
excellent.
any questions?
I think I have a question, but I think I'm going to wait until we get to approving that. Oh,
Okay.
thank you. Is Sarah Dervin here?
No, Laura Clark.
Laura
is here.
Clark?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. The Youth Services Report. Laura, did you want to outline anything in particular?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just want to say not only is June 22nd the first day of contactless pickup, it will be the first day of the youth services and the teen summer reading program. We will be going live that day online with Beanstack, and also for people who don't want to do it through them, we have a bingo card ready to go that people can download and play from there. And as is shown in the statistics, we've done a lot of videos. 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten has been up, and kids will get their rewards soon. I just wanted to do a big shout out to Heather Cunningham, who's our newest hire in youth services. She was hired to do the teen section, and pretty soon after she was hired, we closed shop. So she's been working with theoretical teens that she doesn't know really well, and doing programs for them. She's done Animoto. She's done a Star Wars trivia game for teens and adults. She's done a TikTok dance challenge, and she has quite a few really innovative ideas. So we're really happy to have her. Appreciate her kind of working in the dark without really knowing her audience as well as we might like. What else? And I wanted to say we no longer, don't have Jen O in the department, but Becky Wright we don't have anymore, and also Leslie Nover, who was a long-time full-time employee and it was working part-time and resigned recently. So we miss them a lot. Sarah has been doing book reviews for her middle grade students on Animoto, and she even sent some over to her first grade students that she wasn't able to Vision Street. So I guess that's pretty much it. So we look forward to the summer reading program in the summer.
Thank you. I know it's particularly challenging connecting with youth during this way. It has its own unique challenges. My wife's actually a social worker in an elementary school, and it's just hard with that population to make those connections.
They don't understand. The little ones don't understand, and the older ones, they're just so over it right now.
Thank you, Laura.
Sure.
Rick Taras.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything you'd like to highlight that you haven't already?
No, I think we're moving forward fairly well. It's been a challenge between contractors and, keeping the equipment rolling. The insurance company responded pretty quickly. I guess the bad part was the contractor who helped us the most with the equipment was also the contractor responsible for the biggest problem. So, it's just ironic. But no, I think unless you have any questions about my report, it's just trying to keep after all the back orders and keep supplies rolling. I think we're in great shape except for wipes. We're coming up. You have a primary and then a secondary and then a backup and then a backup to the backup. You just keep on working on it to see what's available with your vendors. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Okay, old business. I don't think we have any special committee reports. Old business. Ike, is there something about the budget vote trustee election you wanted to talk about?
I think there might have been a little bit of confusion about the governor's executive order over the weekend, where he extended the voting time to Friday, but that's only by mail. So if people intend to turn their ballots in person, they still have to do that by 5 o'clock tomorrow. And if they want to mail their ballot, that they've got to get it in the mail to get it in Friday's mail to the school district. So the news about it wasn't initially super clear. It was just that it had been extended until Friday. And they left out the part about if you plan on turning it in person, you still have to get it there by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So I wanted to make that clarification.
Well, it's certainly good they extended it. Okay, there's a proposed addendum to the business reopening safety plan. This looks like it has to do with enforcement, the ability to enforce the plan. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the addendum? It also authorizes the library director to update and revise the plan as necessary without prior board approval.
And that's in response to, Tara's comments about by the time we had it approved, it already was out of date. So,
Yeah, things are moving quickly.
yeah.
So would you be sending us the updates
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
that's what you updated?
Yes, absolutely.
And there's going to be, the safety plan will be updated. I assume it's accessible through the website.
It is. It is on the, yes, right on the front page.
And then it will be updated as necessary.
That's necessary, right?
And Ike, are you still moving forward with some other documentation for patrons that is a consolidated version of that, of just what they can expect when?
Yes, absolutely. And I apologize for not having it in the packet this week. Jen F did prepare a document that would outline what the procedure for the contact list was. And I meant to get it into the packet, and I forgot, to be perfectly honest, but I will share that with you as well.
Okay.
All right, I certainly have no problem with this. Does anybody else have any questions about it? Or would they like to make a motion?
I move to accept the addendum to the business reopening safety plan.
I seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The addendum passes. Okay, now back to Tara. The employee handbook updates.
Yes.
Tara, did you want to say anything in addition to what you've already said about these updates? I assume these are from Ron Shenik.
They're not, no. I got them from Think HR, which is actually the same platform we've been using for our staff development, our online staff development. They have a very robust HR component to it. So they actually had template policies that I customized to us, albeit in a very limited way, and then passed them by Bonchonic. They had very few, if any, modifications to make to what Think HR was able to generate.
Oh, okay.
Do I want to say anything more about them? No, other than they're very confusing. It's got a lot of people, a lot of my peers scratching our heads when it comes to the interaction of all of these different leaves, especially where the state leave comes into play. The bottom line is that these leaves are intended for people who are unable to work, including telework, because of issues related to COVID-19, whether that's personal illness, family illness, or caring for a family member like a child. The bulk of our employees to this point, to the best of my knowledge, have been able to work or telework without issue. So there have been no requests for any of these leaves. If there is a circumstance that arises where people do need to make a request, there is a form that I've created that I believe is part of this packet as well. It really is going to be on a case-by-case basis. It will require some form of medical documentation for folks who have been diagnosed with COVID or might potentially be diagnosed with COVID, albeit paperwork that comes after the fact, given the fact that a lot of people maybe can't get in to see a healthcare provider, but otherwise have all of the symptoms of COVID. So like everything in this pandemic, it is new, it is different, it is complex, and it is going to be based on case-by-case assessment.
Does anybody have any questions for Tara? Okay. So do we have a motion to update the employee handbook as set forth in the agenda? Updates to the Emergency Family and Medical Leave Act, to the Emergency Paid Sick Leave, and New York COVID-19 benefits.
I move that we accept the employee handbook updates.
Second that.
Oh,
All
sorry,
in favor?
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I second. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's passed. Thank you, Tara. The next thing is this daily screening for the employees. So you mentioned that you, through Paylocity, that you might be able to do this electronically for most employees, I guess.
The electronic option is there. Yes.
So this is done every day. Employee completes this form, submits it.
Yeah.
And then who's reviewing the form?
The shift supervisor for the individual employees. So in the case of, for instance, circulation, if Jennifer Ferris were the shift supervisor on site, she would be the one reviewing it. In Jennifer's absence, perhaps the principal clerk, Ann Passno. In Ann's absence, perhaps one of the senior library clerks. Other departments have similar hierarchies with similar supervisory reporting structures. In my mind anyway, and we're still waiting, I'm still waiting actually for some consensus among the management team, some questions I asked last week about firming up the process before this gets rolled out to staff. Another option would be to have the person in charge on site be the sole person reviewing all of these. Most days that would be Ike. In Ike's absence, there would need to be a designated person in charge, and that person would need to be responsible. If we go the alternative with the electronic option or have that be as an additional, I'm still waiting for answers from Paylocity on what access supervisors or even I would have to those electronic affirmations.
So okay, so this is still a little bit of a work in progress?
A little bit.
And Ike, are you expected to complete this daily as well to have on file, or are you considered to be...
Every employee.
Okay.
Every employee who comes on site, and technically every visitor, every non-patron visitor also has to make an affirmation. So that would include vendors that are coming onto the site and working within the operations department. The responsibility for getting that affirmation would, in my mind, flow through Rick and or the folks within his department who might be working with vendors on any given day. The guidance on getting affirmations from folks like vendors would be that if we are having people on site who are making such an affirmation to their own employers, and we can get that from the employer, fine. We don't necessarily need to get it from the individual vendor contractors who are coming on site. But all of our employees who report to the site do need to attest, answer questions, or in this case, make an affirmation every single day before they start their shift, before they come on site.
So, so at this point, it's going to be the shift supervisor.
That's what I'm proposing.
Yeah. All right, so this requires board action, Ike?
I don't believe so. It's just by way of information.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
About this process, no, other than how much I appreciate Tara's leadership on this.
Thank you, Ike.
You're welcome.
Okay, did anybody else have any thoughts about it before we move on?
I could just comment with regards to the supervisor aspect. Part of it is we're still trying to work out some kinks in the schedule for the week starting the 15th. But it's looking like, at least for adult services too, that there'll always be one full-time person there to be a pick. So there should be someone on site that's a supervisor to receive those attestations as they start to come in. So Tara, I hope that answers your question a bit, but we're still working that out as of Friday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and the last item on the agenda is the resolution of commendation for Steve. Steve Schenken.
All right, looks good to me. I approve.
Receive the commendation, gratitude, and appreciation of the staff and Board of Trustees of the Saratoga Springs Public Library for your service to the library and the people of the community. Best wishes for good health and much happiness in the years to come. I move that we approve the commendation for Steve Schenken.
I second.
Did.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much, Frank, and all of you. That's very meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. And Steve, I just want to say thanks for your, not only your work on behalf of the library and the community, but the library community itself. So all of the, all of the support you've given both to NILA and ALA, it really is appreciated, as a community of professionals. I don't know that there's anybody that we respect more than you. So thank you.
Thank you, Ike. That partnership will certainly continue.
Excellent. Okay. I think we can adjourn the meeting now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Great.
Thank you.
Evening.
Good night.